Okay, bear with me. Imagine time traveling back into 1962 and warning the Major League Baseball that they were in trouble. Now, yes, at the time, they were by far the most popular sport in the United States. And yes, they dominated the airwaves as millions of people tuned in for Game 7 of the World Series between the Giants and the Yankees. And yes, baseball was America's pastime. But hear me out, your sport is in danger. Would you have listened or would you have blown them off? I'm Ram, and this is my channel. Thanks for checking me out. The 2024 Summer Olympics just ended, and these games were absolutely awesome. Photo finishes, world records, and first-time medalists introducing themselves on the world stage. Now, I watch as much as I can of the Summer Olympics every 4 years when they roll around. But personally, these games were my introduction into the wonderful, wide world of rugby sevens. I always try to check out a new sport every Olympic cycle, but after one game of sevens, I was absolutely hooked. I'd always been vaguely aware of rugby. I'd heard of a scrum, and I always knew that the oblong football was a lot different than the American persuasion. But sevens were unlike a rugby I'd ever seen before. I was instantly hooked. I was intrigued, so I had to do my Googles. Now, for the uninitiated like myself, Rugby Sevens is a variant of rugby played with 7 players on each team, 7-minute halves, and a 2-minute halftime in between. Designed to be a fast-paced and more non-stop action. An entire match can be played in like 25 minutes from start to sit. The traditional rugby is played with either 13 or 15 players, depending on where you're from, in 40-minute halves. The sevens game is generally not the most popular form of the sport. The traditional full-sided 15v15 rugby union variety is the most popular form of the sport worldwide, as evidenced by the more than 1.3 billion viewing hours of the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Rugby is a hugely popular sport and one of the most popular sports in the world, sitting right neck and neck with American football. And I'm of the belief that the sevens fast-paced orientation is responsible for a lot of that growth more recently. Per the worldwide governing body of rugby, appropriately named World Rugby, they seem to think the same. As the rugby sevens game has been brought to the world stage through the expansion of international tournaments in places like Hong Kong, professional leagues, and the Olympic Games as of 2016, sevens has reached its highest heights ever, continentally and internationally, even reaching all the way over here to the good old US of A. And after watching every sevens match of the 2024 Olympics, men and women's, I learned quite a bit about the sport. But I know enough to know I've only scratched the surface of the ins and outs of rugby sevens. Now, at this point, you might be asking, what in the world does any of this have to do with the NFL, American football? What are you getting at? And to that, I say, good job, you're paying attention. Now, back to that intro. Would you have listened or would you have blown them off? Chances are, back in 1962, you probably would have gotten laughed off the street and told to quiet down. Well, 10 years later, in 1972, football and the NFL officially passed baseball as the most popular sport in the United States and has never looked back since. Today, among younger populations, baseball ranks as America's 3rd favorite sport, behind football and basketball. If only they would have listened. Now, while this veiled analogy may seem a little far-fetched, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that one day, football and the NFL could find itself yearning for the good old days like its baseball predecessors. Taking a look at American football's national popularity today, it by far clears any other sport in the country. Viewed as the national sport and almost a religion in some parts of the country, football reigns supreme, for now. But in this age of growing globalism, the world is really the stage of play. And for comparison, the National Basketball Association fully understands this. While a measly 10% of Americans choose basketball as their favorite sport, basketball finds itself as the 3rd most popular sport in the world, Yes, above American football. With over 2.2 billion fans worldwide, the pool of those potentially interested in the NBA expands drastically larger than the NFL's pool. Survey data shows that a whopping 52% of internet adults in China watch NBA games in some capacity. Just a reminder, in case you forgot, there are over 1.4 billion people in China alone, some 4 times larger than the US. And this international appeal into the NBA was not by happenstance or coincidence. Back in 1980, the late Commissioner David Stern invested in the international market by showcasing the NBA across the airwaves in China for free. 20 years later, the NBA began playing games in China and officially bringing its product to the mainland. Once legendary players like Yao Ming reached the NBA, the sport's international appeal exploded even further.
This is a market that is very important. It has so many people who have been playing our game for so long.
Since then, we've seen international legends of the game like Manu Ginobili, Dirk Nowitzki, Nikola Jokic, Toni Kukoc, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and more. I mean, I could go on for hours naming all of the players that have built the NBA into truly a national and international league today. Global appeal is the end game. It always has been. But the NFL knows this as well. Since 2005, the NFL has been playing some subsection of its regular season games internationally. With the first, global appeal. In the 2024 season, the league will have 5 games overseas, even going so far as to kick the season off with a matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Love hurts, if you will. And yet, with all of that effort, the trillion-dollar behemoth still fails to cultivate a truly competitive global presence. I'm of the belief that the reason why the NFL hasn't been able to establish itself in global markets as well as it would like is because while it's nice to watch the games and it's great to go check out a game on a Sunday afternoon, what people really want is to play the game. They want to feel like they're a part of the sport. It's why basketball has been able to grow so much around the world into a fully international phenomenon. Because people can pick up a ball, shoot it, and play the game. Whether you're shooting on a rim, or a cardboard box, or a milk carton with a crate cut out at the bottom, people want to play the game. It's the #1 reason why soccer is the world's top sport. Because literally in the poorest countries of the world, people can play the game with as little as a wad of old rags and an old empty field. People everywhere can just play the game and it can be fun. And the NFL understands this as well, which is why they've invested millions of dollars into NFL flag football programs in countries like China, India, and other parts of the world. But the flag football game as it stands today is different. I've played flag football, I've enjoyed it, I've had fun, but the game in its current iteration is not American football. It's fundamentally different in too many ways to even call itself the same sport. And not different in the ways that rugby sevens are different from rugby union, but more so different in the ways that Chinese food is different from Korean food. And sure, some people like both, and that's not to say that there isn't value in both, but it's just that they do totally different things. And a lot of people, when they're looking for one, may not be fully satisfied with the other. The NFL has been a staunch proponent for flag football's entry into the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm the furthest thing from a pessimist. But I just can't see this serving to grow the game in any way that's ideal. The current iteration of the flag football game that's been played at the World Games for years and will be played in the 2028 Olympic Games is played in a 5v5 format with a condensed field and a model that's so drastically different from the 11v11 tackle model that many traditionalist fans will be immediately turned off. And many newcomers to the game will be having a totally different experience than if they were watching the 11v11 format. Considering 2028, if the stars of the NFL game today, like Tyreek Hill and Joe Burrow, play against the rest of the world, that talent gap would be so drastic that the games wouldn't be enjoyable at all. So what now? By now, it may seem like all is bad and all hope is lost. But that's where Rugby Sevens provides the perfect model for comparison. In the world of rugby, The sevens model coexists perfectly alongside the full-sided union and league models, both providing their own values and actually both flourishing in their own right. While many fans enjoy the robust and thorough traditions of the full-sided games like the Rugby World Cup, the sevens model provides a well-tailored formatting for the international competitions like the Olympics and a change of pace from the full-sided game. My proposal is that the NFL invest in a hybrid 7-on-7 game that resembles the common 7-on-7 played today, along with the physicality of the Rugby Sevens game that's been played for well over 150 years. In the US, we already have a robust array of 7-on-7 tournaments, leagues, and games at the amateur levels. This version I'm proposing is a 7-on-7, as you may see in high school tournaments and showcases, with the padding and equipment of the 11v11 game stripped away. A 7-on-7 game with lighter, faster athletes will provide excitement while still resembling the football that we've grown to love. I believe that if the NFL were to invest in a sevens game, it could do three things at once. First, it could remedy some of the active concerns regarding violence and the dangers of football, namely concussions and CTE. Second, it could present an easily accessible and transferable game to reach audiences outside of the US. And third, it could set up the sport for long-term international success to coincide with the Olympic schedule for years to come. Let's start with the first one, and the big one, injuries. Sadly, injuries are a part of any sport, but football has been uniquely designed as a collision sport, upon which violence is sometimes the name of the game. Since the mid-90s, the NFL has been investigating the connections between its sport and traumatic brain injuries. Much of this talk came to a head within the last 10 to 15 years, as many retired NFL players very publicly discussed their battles with CTE and other head injuries, some even posthumously. The NFL knows of this reputation and the reality of the dangers of its sport. It sought to remedy this through rule changes, new technology, and harsher punishment for dangerous plays. But yet, the game is still dangerous. And this has turned off many potential players across the world. Even here in America, 20% of parents polled stated that they believe children under the age of 18 should not be allowed to play tackle football. Many parents around the country are vehement in not allowing their kids to play football, even if they'll watch the game themselves on Sundays. This is a perfect time to note that while Rugby Sevens strips back the equipment with no helmets, no shoulder pads, many people still find the game to be much safer than the NFL American football equivalent. Even President Joe Biden said that he would rather his children play rugby than American football. Picture that, the American president siding against America's sport for safety concerns. Now, the research behind the safety of rugby versus football gets very nuanced, with experts on both sides of the coin failing to come to one clear decision as to which sport is truly safer. Albeit anecdotal, having played American football from childhood to college, I can account firsthand that not every concussion gets reported in the American football game. Both sports are dangerous, but in an effort to make the game safer, the Rugby Sevens components could be a better model than what we see today. So while this NFL Sevens model could provide some safety improvements and enhancements, one of the biggest attractions that limits football's growth on an international scale is accessibility, and more specifically, cost. Some local reporters have found that when adding up the startup costs of equipment, including things like helmets, shoulder pads, mouthpieces, jerseys, cleats, the total cost for a team of 50 players could run from $20,000 to $30,000 per team. In areas where there may be fewer resources to devote to football or fewer people interested in playing the game, a group of just 7 players starting up an NFL Sevens team would only need a football, some mouthpieces, shirts, cleats, and they could get going. Reducing the startup costs associated with playing the sport would do wonders to help boost popularity in areas of the world where there's less access, which ultimately leads to the main goal of growing the game on an international scale. And what better place than the Olympics? While the league has committed to flag football as its international vehicle amongst young people, an NFL Sevens game could spark a renewed interest in a new way to play the game. The Rugby Sevens model we see today shows us that the two sports, even in their similarities, could healthily coexist, and actually both flourish. We've seen recently during the NFL Pro Bowl season the inclusion of 7-on-7 flag football, and this has quickly become the most fun part of Pro Bowl weekend. If the NFL would carry the same levels of creativity and vigor into a new product, they could set up the sport for an international success unlike anything they've ever seen. 35 years ago, NFL Europe sought to bring the American football game to an international landscape through Europe. And almost 20 years later, that spark failed to set the world ablaze. The 2028 Olympics will be our first taste of a truly international American football scene. And it might not be the match that reignites that flame. But if the NFL is truly seeking global expansion as its next target, then Rugby Sevens might be the only thing that can save the NFL.